I think it's safe to say that Ocarina of Time is easily one of the best Zelda games in the series. So many Zelda fans rank it number one, and I 100% agree with this. Ocarina of Time is one of the games in the series that have withstood the test of time. I think to me, one of the many reasons why Ocarina of Time is the best game in the series is just because I really enjoyed the time travel aspect of the game. In this week's video, I'd like to discuss with you why Breath of the Wild 2 must follow in Ocarina of Time's footsteps in order to satisfy the fans of the original Breath of the Wild as well as the fans of the entire series. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up? It's Derek with Zelda Theory, bringing you brand new Zelda content every single week. And on this channel, sometimes I do Zelda countdown videos as well as Breath of the Wild 2 theory videos, just like this one here. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for any and all things Zelda every single week. So as far back as I can remember, the Legend of Zelda series has a reputation for exploring themes of duality or alternate dimensions. An example of this that comes to mind right away is in The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, where Link explores Hyrule as well as an alternate version of it called the quote-unquote Dark World. Twilight Princess has kind of the same concept as well, where Link explores the alternate world called the Twilight Realm. With Breath of the Wild 2 up on the horizon, one way to expand the limits of the original game is to explore time traveling. Now hear me out here, guys. While traveling through time shows up briefly in games like Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess, the one game in the series that I think most people will point to when referring to time travel is the greatest of all time, Ocarina of Time. You see what I did there? Once our beloved hero completes the first 3 dungeons as young Link, he's able to travel through time 7 years into the future with the help of a certain item. Now, as a fan of the series, I'm sure I don't have to spell this out for you. As a child, Hyrule is peaceful and innocent, and as an adult, it is a graveyard, courtesy of the evil genius Ganondorf. Now, if we take a minute and jump to the past, to the E3 Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, all signs point to the fact that Ganondorf will indeed be returning to the sequel to Breath of the Wild. I do have a video going into way more detail about this. If you feel like checking it out after this one, it'll be in the YouTube cards of this video as well as listed and linked in the description below. Anyways, if Nintendo does decide to bring back a time travel system like Ocarina of Time as well as the King of Evil, Ganondorf, there's just so many ways the story of the sequel could go. Let's go ahead and talk about a few of them. Now, as previously mentioned, as time travel has been a staple in some of the games in the Zelda series, Breath of the Wild really didn't have any mentions of it at all. The beloved Switch launch title is widely referred to as the quote-unquote reboot of the Legend of Zelda series, focused on open world exploration rather than the traditional mechanics of previous titles in the series. However, with this being said, Link's memories in Breath of the Wild that date back 100 years offer minor details to the difference between a populated Hyrule and an empty end-of-the-world Hyrule. Let's hope to the almighty that Princess Zelda also plays a more pivotal role in the sequel as well. I mean, based off the trailer it does seem like potentially Zelda will be playable. I could be wrong though, I guess. That's the beauty of a theory though, right? Now I want to pose this question to you all. What if the powers that Zelda obtains at the end of the first Breath of the Wild from the goddesses somehow allows her to time travel? I mean, theoretically, here guys, it could happen. What if theoretically the power of the revived Ganondorf is just too much for Link and Zelda to handle, and they literally have to go back in time to find a certain power needed to defeat Ganondorf? What if the portal to another time is located in the Temple of Time? I mean, we all know that the Temple of Time still exists in Breath of the Wild. The Temple of Time is an iconic building that over the many games in the series has facilitated Link's passage from young Link to adult Link. I mean, it all fits, right? Furthermore, if this exact Temple of Time holds the same amount of importance as it did in Ocarina of Time, Zelda could potentially use this place as a holding ground for the Sacred Realm, which we all know holds the Triforce, which will allow Link himself to return to the past. Now, of course, Breath of the Wild created amazing characters, specifically the champions of Hyrule who assisted in the fight against Calamity Ganon. The only unfortunate thing here is that their stories were lackluster in my opinion because of the champions, well, for lack of a better word or phrase, getting killed by Calamity Ganon. I would have really liked to see more story development on the champions outside of the Champions Ballad DLC. This theory could actually be a possibility because if Link were able to travel back in time for the sequel to Breath of the Wild, he could potentially save the champions and allow the player to see more of the iconic champions in action. Now, there's not a whole lot that we know about the sequel, but Nintendo did let us in on the fact that Breath of the Wild 2 will in fact be using the same map as the original. Obviously, Nintendo is going to have to alter the map in some way in order to make the map feel different and fresh. I think a fantastic way to do this would be making an alternate dimension or world, kind of like Twilight Princess's Twilight Realm or Lorule in A Link Between Worlds. This could lead to some developing issues, however, like with optimization and things like that, but all in all, I think this would make for an amazing adventure in Breath of the Wild 2. Time traveling in Breath of the Wild 2 could also potentially have the 4 champions taking their place as Link's companions yet again. In the first game, they work alongside their descendants to regain control of the Divine Beast, setting an example that's easy to build upon. Daruk's descendant Yonobo is a telling example, as the escort mission to Divine Beast Varudania, and I am butchering the names here, in Death Mountain has the 2 characters traveling together to perform a specific task. Now, if Link returns to the pre-Calamity Ganon era for some MacGuffin hunt, perhaps related to the returning Divine Beast, Nintendo could potentially introduce the original champions as battling partners to build upon the team-up mechanic from Yonobo's quest. If Breath of the Wild focused on the aspect of open-world exploration, introducing time travel into its sequel could narrow the focus to a deeply personal theme of closure. Closure that we all need. Not only would Link have to confront his past in some way in order to stop the evil entity he once thought he banished, but in doing so would bring him face to face with the allies he left to die. Adding onto this is the ability to flesh out characters who were underdeveloped and introduce a slew of possible new combat scenarios. All of these reasons stated above are plenty of reasons to see why Breath of the Wild 2 could stand to follow in Ocarina of Time's footsteps. Now, to see more Zelda content, click on either of the videos coming up on the screen now, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Continue to be the light in someone's life, and remember, it's dangerous to go alone. I hope to talk to you soon.